Hope everybody's having a good day. It's always wild in Web3, that's for sure. Y'all know this. But today this is more the creators area. We want to hang out, have some fun, just talk with the people who are interested in creating, doing creative stuff. We know there's a bunch of y'all, and having a creators roundtable where we can just talk about different things going on in the art world, in our space, in Web3, with some of the tools we have. So like today, we're gonna talk a bit about AI and some other things. And yeah, just really want to make sure we invite people in to have some fun conversations and share their thoughts. So if you guys want to request and jump in, feel free to. We got Fairy running the Artifact Creators account, and they also have the famous Alt Anonymous, none other than All Eight Arms. And yeah, gonna start pinning some artworks, obviously, that are related to AI to the top, because there's definitely been a lot of people who ran on this wave. And I feel like when I first got to this space, I met one person who did something AI art related, and then I got to the space and I saw like top artists in the space, AI artists. This person over here just picked up and did something nuts, and this person over here is doing something crazy daily with renders. So it is really cool to see how we're kind of at the forefront of a lot of different things in this little group in this world. But Alt's Fairy, what's going on? What are you guys thinking today?
I'm just like looking over this picture, the one that you got pinned up top, and just seeing like, it's just so cool for one to see how like AI can help us as a tool to kind of reimagine some of these like, beautiful fam that we know. And it's so crazy that you can see them in a completely different light, but they're instantly recognizable still because of some of the really cool traits that we have. But yeah, you're right. Like I love to see that this space, like Web3, like, I mean, now if you like go back to like Facebook, people, have been playing around with AI in their own way, but it's like, we were like a year ahead on that regard. So we're definitely ahead of the curve for these things. But just to see how people are reimagining a lot of the same, even art that we've seen over the years, like in a new way. And it bridges the gap too, because the average person that was too, like, obviously Blender and things can be pretty daunting, right? It's getting easier by the day with plugins and shout out Beb tools and stuff like that. But it can be a little bit of a learning curve, right? But like AI is like anybody can just start playing around with that so quickly and instantly. And it's quite addictive, I got to say.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things that has been very interesting is seeing how much fear is piling up from everybody worried about different things. We'll get into that later. But AI has already been like a huge part of our lives, from like search engines, like getting recommendations, voice assistants like Siri, Alexa, Cortana, online customer service, fraud detection that uses like AI algorithms to detect and prevent fraudulent activities in like industries like finance and banking. But it all seems so new to some people. Like it's just been there, but everyone's really, really terrified. Like, remember Clippy? Do you guys remember him?
Throwback.
Yeah. He was the little paperclip from Microsoft program site. He was their office assistant, and he was there to help the users with like different tasks, like inserting images, formatting text, checking spelling and grammar. And he answered some like really basic questions, very limited, of course. But for me, my experience with him was like, I saw two googly eyes on an object that shouldn't have googly eyes, and I fell in love with it. And I basically took it as an opportunity to make friends with him. And I don't want to blame this completely on my intelligence or lack of. So I'll point out that I was quite a lonely child back then, but I wanted it to become my best friend. So I would ask it questions like, how was your day? What's your favorite chocolate? Can you tell me a secret?
Yo, somebody keep Fairy away from ChatGPT. That's all I gotta say. God bless.
when it wouldn't respond the way that I wanted to, I would get like really frustrated. And I'm seeing the same thing happen with my 6-year-old niece who talks to Siri all the time, and her expectations are ridiculously high from Siri, and it's quite bizarre to watch. But I was going to ask you guys. So AI has been around for a very, very long time, and it has been very helpful. So why do you think that people have such a concern for it? And please, guys, if you want to have any input into this conversation, please come up. Everyone is welcome.
I mean, I'll be the first to say it, but AI is going to take a lot of people's jobs. I've been saying it, and it's not a negative thing. It's just kind of how technology works. And like, if you want something to be better, faster, smarter than a group of humans, then a group of humans comes together and makes something that can hopefully be better, faster, smarter at maybe like just a task or a part of the task or a few tasks. And that's kind of how AI works, where we're probably going to see a lot of different things like in design groups. So I don't know how, like even like marketing agencies, for example, like if you wanted to pull up like test ideas for artwork or something like that, before you would have to go outsource, hire an artist, do this, yada, yada, yada. And that's like costly. It's going to actually like take time for you to do that. And it might not always be the best fit, or you have to like legitimately hire someone in house to do it. Now, like I'm sure there's going to be some marketing assistant somewhere who is like semi decent at Photoshop and then also knows like Midjourney or something. And, you know, you can just pull up a bunch of crazy, like cool concepts and just run with that until you want to kind of flesh things out. I mean, there's so much stuff. I'm one of those people. I've talked about like AI doctors and lawyers and robotics and things that are going to be coming along, because it's all part of the next wave in tech in general. And it's all, you know, Fairy said it. She fell in love with a paperclip back in like third grade. I mean, that's like ex machina. Am I right? Also, like, she was like 2 steps away from losing her life to Clippy or something like that because she wanted to get sucked into their computer. But yeah, you know, I don't think like I personally, I make, you know, music. I watch people use AI beats or like, you know, synth packs or whatever, like, you know, shortcuts you want to use. Like there's all sorts of things out there. And yeah, I will use those too, because it's like, if you want to use the tools to get a leg up, then get a leg up. If you want to do it the all natural way and, you know, start from scratch, that's dope. But it's all about like you as an artist and what you want to accomplish or whatever you're trying to do.
I have this picture of Ray as a kid, just like talking to this paperclip. It's like the saddest child I've ever seen. But no, like you're right. Like I think it's like that's probably the immediate like off-putting thing for a lot of people, is that like this is a threat to their job, right? Like, and a lot of jobs are going to be threatened, but that's like a natural progression of, you know, of technology, like you said. But it's like, you know, you can adopt it early before people catch on and use it as a tool, right? Like you could probably go find some jobs and use chat. You can get hired on like 3 jobs and just use chat GPT, and then they won't even know, right? You just like pile up jobs until they catch on. But like really, like a lot of jobs will disappear, you know, as we're seeing. But if you start playing around with it now, like learning to communicate with this AI, that itself will be extremely invaluable, right? Because a lot of people will know that it needs, you know, that it can do a lot of these things, but they won't know how to communicate with it yet. So I think the sooner you can figure that out and get, you know, evolve with that trend, you'll be ahead of the curve, right? But like it's so interesting because I think the chat for like, you know, the last couple of decades was that like, okay, AI is going to evolve and take jobs and yada yada yada, but like art will be like the last bastion because it's all about creativity. And then here we are, it's like one of the first things to go, right? Like in a lot of ways, you know, which I thought was really interesting. But like as a creator, like I actually love to use it for inspiration, because like things that used to be, I'd have to scroll, you know, through Google and Pinterest for days, right? For like just trying to find images and things that I could use to kind of explain the vibe and tone of things that I want. But now I can use like Midjourney, like you said, and make mood boards and lookbooks, and it's just so effective at explaining like a tone and stuff of the actual project that we then go on to completely customize, right? Because it's still hard to customize things with AI exactly the way you want them. Yeah, pretty much until we get like Neuralink and you can just come into my consciousness and then I can show you, you know. But until then, like AI is gonna.
That's a whole different.
Until then,
That's a
AI
whole
is
different
gonna have.
spaces, bro. Alt has done successful things in terms of, you know, encouraging me to use VR and use AI, but he will never convince me about Neuralink. I promise you. I'm gonna die on that hill. Yeah, I don't want to start devolving into random stuff, but yeah, I think the main thing, if you know we're answering the question originally, Ferry, is people definitely will always be scared of what can change things. And I remember seeing like one of those like anime AI animations that went pretty viral recently. And that one I was like, damn, dude. I was like, am I really spending all this time learning Blender for nothing? Like, am I really gonna just watch someone in 45 minutes download an AI program and just like, you know, do exactly what I want to do to some degree or a little bit, you know, a little bit less. But at the end of the day, like, if I want to go and chase that concept of doing things from the AI perspective, like I can. I just obviously see the long term benefit of knowing what you can do in a full 3D world. And I'm also a crazy person, and I will commit to learning new things that make me want to pull my hair out some days. So, you know. But if you guys wanted to chime in, had any thoughts, comments, feel free to jump on up. Looks like we got the food chain on stage. What's going on?
Hey, thanks for having me. This is a topic that I'm particularly interested in. I spent a lot of time trying to understand this machine, right? And I think the takeaway that I have here is that really there's nothing to be afraid of, right? Because at the end of the day, it's not about how the painting looks. It's about the intention behind the painting, right? So it's like as soon as that, you know, artificial component becomes truly intelligent, then it's a different conversation, right? But at the moment right now, it's like it's just a vessel for cheaper content creation, which is a problem within its own right, right? Because what happens when we have an entire sort of landfill of digital content being made more easily than ever before, right? Like, who's this for? Who's going to be able to sift through this digital landfill to consume all this content? I mean, that's the concern that I have. But in terms of the sort of intention behind it, I'm not worried about somebody else being able to put together a visual. It's about the intention behind the visual, and that's not something that's easily taught or understood.
Big facts. I 1,000% agree, especially when we get into the reason why any art is valuable. Like, because you, like you said, you know, you can create 1,000 renders on Midjourney and throughout a day, but none of those 1,000 renders will equal one Pablo Picasso, unless, you know, the person who did those renders really was doing something, you know, whatever special or unique that drew people in to value it like that. But yeah, definitely going to be a fun turn. I feel like it'll bring some artists more into the forefront, or hopefully push people to, like, you know, bring a little bit more of themselves out with their art. But we got a few others jumping in. Big time, what's going on, man?
What's good, bro? What's good, Artifact? Yeah, I just said Artifact Creators. There we go. Didn't see the full name. My bad.
It's very liquid.
Oh, it's Ferry.
The name is very liquid.
Shit! No way. Yo, mind blown.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Very good. Thank you. Nice to have you up
That's
here.
hilarious. Thank you for having me up. That's crazy. Yeah, just something you mentioned. I think Alts, you said about like jobs going. The funny thing is, I work in tech recruitment. I was talking to the IT guy about this same thing today, and I was like, "Yeah, the jobs are going," but he was like, "Yeah, but there's going to be jobs like that replace it." I goes, "Yeah, but like no one take offense to this as well, please, right? But I was like, yo, the generation is getting lazy and fucking stupid, man. Like the younger generations, they give a fuck. Everything's spoon fed to them. Like they don't want to learn. They don't want to do stuff. Like, yeah, of course, you can ask Alexa to do this. You can ask Chat GPTs to do your homework. Like, okay, there's gonna be the anomalies. Absolutely, there's always gonna be, like, you know, we're essentially anomalies in this space, right? But you're gonna have like the masses like just fucking oblivious to most things. Like, so I'm really on board with this conversation. I just thought I'd just jump up and just share my 2 cents on that, because I thought it was funny how we were talking about the same thing literally at lunch. But yeah, on art, you don't know where I stand with art. I mean, if someone can do something original and creative and innovative, then I'm all for it. Like any form of creativity to me is incredible, whether it's by computer generation, by hand, by voice, by action, by dance, whatever. Like, I'm an appreciator of just skill in general. So things are going to change. Absolutely. The world always, you know, the world favors those who evolve, right? It doesn't favor the one who was like amazing 100 years ago, like, or 50 years ago, because that guy's dated. Like, you got to keep up with the times. So, you know, it's some things a bit take us out of our comfort zone, and maybe we sound like old people, like, oh, music was better when I was younger, like, because I say that shit, like, yo, hip-hop was better when I grew up, like, but but the fact is, like, you know, things are going to change. We're going to move with the times. And you know, what's that saying? Yo, Cass, you might know it, like, you got to move with the times or you get left behind, or something like that, right?
Yeah,
like,
word.
But yeah, that was it. Thanks for having me up.
Appreciate it. No, and I definitely agree. I think it makes sense at times, but I'm also one of those people, like, you know, and maybe it's because of my bag bias of trying to teach myself how to play instruments and do other things, where it's like I spend a lot of time trying to learn the skills, because I think there always is going to be something intangibly different. Like, you know, I love music, and so music, for example, has a lot of different like elements that are just kind of repeated. Like, people take the same sounds or the same samples, and it's just kind of like getting, like the food truck said, where it's almost like a dumpster of like the same stuff happening. But then the people that really stand out are the ones that either go back to do things like a little differently from by like playing instruments natively, or, you know, they try something hella new and, like you said, go beyond the times or keep up with the times and do something crazy. But I don't know, it just like I'm gonna have to not give my perspective, because sometimes I'm trying to think outside the box and it might not be the right box to be thinking in. But we got a few others on stage, so let's throw it to the Banana Rat and Vinny Dirt, and anybody else who wants to join in, feel free to also retweet, like the room, follow people in the room. You know, there's a lot of dope people in here, so just remember where you're at. But Banana Rat, go ahead.
Hey guys, how's everyone doing today? Great to see the focus on the AI side. It's a great conversation to be having. I did post something in the comments there, one of the blog posts I written probably 6 months ago, but it's that the world is shifting from a jobs-based economy to a skills-based economy, and AI fits right into this. It's like the fourth generation is the rise of the machines, right? It's the equivalent of the printing press or the assembly line, right? But what it does is it kind of hacking back to the older days when point of sales and self-checkout came in, right? Is it eliminated the jobs that the McDonald's cashiers had, but it created a whole range of other jobs of people that had to program the machines, maintain the machines, cut it out. So it takes the skill sets to another level. And I think that the things I focus around AI is, although it is going to take away a lot of those general profession automation jobs that are repetitory, you do them 1,000 times a day, it opens up a whole new world of great opportunities if people take more of a skills-based approach. So, for example, if you're actually a writer, you're going to have to learn how to do data wrangling for AI models, because they're only as good as the data source. And much like when you Google something in Google, you're going to get a whole gambit of results back. Some are from Gartner, are going to be really trustworthy, and others are from a site you can't trust. An AI data set is the same thing. You got to really program it And even before you ask the question, you go in and say, like, I want you to actually give me results that are based on findings from Gartner and PwC and different consulting companies, and you get a much better data set. So it just kind of shows you how it's going to open up a whole new opportunities for this type of thing. And I think you see the same thing on the art side. Now, I am primarily an AI artist, but I've been an artist for over 30 years. I'm in my 50s now, but I traditionally did steampunk art. So for example, got a 6-foot tall steampunk sculpture I'm working on now in my basement that I've taken a picture of, integrated it into an AI model, brought it to life, and started working on it. And I also integrated a bunch of real Canon 80D Photoshops to get the right transition effects, right? And you actually, I think I just got into the talk here late, but someone programmed one of my Murakami transitions there. And that basically is a series of photos I've taken that I've then integrated into an AI model, trained them, and then overlaid the animus thing on top of them. And you can start to see how, depending on the artist's process, it can still incorporate a lot of traditional art models, right? So I think it's almost like when the camera first came out, people said a camera is not a legitimate art piece and photographers will never be artists, right? It's just a new technology tool to me, and it depends on the artist using it, on the ability of it to then elevate the art to a new level, right? We've seen the same thing when Photoshop first came out. People said any photos that went through Photoshop were not really art. They're no longer the traditional photo anymore, right? And that changed over time too. So I think my opinion is you'll kind of see the same thing type of thing happen here, right?
That's such a valid point. Yeah, like you nailed it on the head there with the skills-based economy. Like, even like we're seeing this evolution of like what were once like extremely tough skills are now getting just programmed out, right? So that's like you need to develop like a new set of skills, like, but in the process, you're allowing like a whole new class of people that had vision and had these creative energies, but without the skills to express their creative energy, right? Like you're seeing that kind of those barriers getting stripped away in the process. So I think there's a lot of progression on two fronts, like as this evolution unfolds, right?
Yeah, and one of the big problems we have is the school system hasn't kept up with this transition from jobs economy to skills economy. And I tell, like, I run a large PMO, so I hire people all the time for all types of roles, be it Web3 or traditional Web2. But a lot of the skill sets I'm looking for now are not what you would have been 10 years ago, traditionally coming out of university. They're people that have gone on YouTube and are learning the bleeding edge technology. I actually like the people in this room right now, right? And that shift hasn't taken place in the schools yet, right? So the schools have really got to be the champion that help champion in this transition. And instead of paying $80,000 for a degree that will become obsolete in 5 years, why not train yourself on a set of skills that are more creative based that are going to help you long term, right?
Banana Rat, when you were talking about the new title for data wrangling, I immediately thought to myself, I was like, dude, I pretty much got like a professional YouTube Academy degree or whatever it may be, because I think I've been through school and I've got degrees, but man, I have learned more from Google and YouTube and random friends on the internet than a lot of my professional classes and professors. Shout out to my professors though. They did all right with me. But Big Time's got his hand up. We'll keep it going. Big Time, what's going on?
Yeah, I was just gonna say similar to what you just said, man. Like, the stuff like that really advances. Like, school ain't there to make you rich. The school ain't there to like really educate you. It's to spoon feed you, to make you regurgitate shit. Like, it's not to critically think. It's there to learn and spit things out, memorize things. That's what I meant to say, not learn, just memorize it. Like, not across the board, but I just don't believe in. I think personally, from the things that I've worked in, like, pretty. I'm not going to sit there and go through them all, but pretty sophisticated sectors that I've learned everything from real life, from learning from other experts, or a lot of YouTube, and that goes across the board for everything. Like, I think you can learn so much more sat behind a computer screen than you can. I mean, it depends on your work ethic and your motive, right? And if you really give a shit, like if you really care and you want to sit there and do it. Like, I was one guy that started working with me, actually. He created a whole NFT project. He made $6,000 in 2 days off like Bored Ape derivative that he made. He learned front end development with Node.js, and he did this shit. Like, so to me, and the guy was saying, I think he said like he's got ADHD or something, so he just gets fully engrossed in whatever it is that he's doing. But to me, it's like, yo, if you really want to do something, you can go out and do it. And like I was saying about the anomalies, there are going to be them people, like these kids that just sit there and study this stuff. This other kid that started working with me is they're doing leverage trading on stocks. I'm thinking, well, you're 20 years old. How the fuck are you leverage trading on stocks? Like, and he doesn't seem bright at all. This guy comes out with the dumbest shit like all day, but the guy's leverage trading on fucking stocks, and I only did that stuff in the last 2-3 years. I just think, you know, that there's a whole nother wave of like kids that are coming up now. Like, fair enough, okay, there's not going to be, like I was saying, like there's going to be your section of people that just don't care. They're just going to sit there and watch TV and not give a shit. But then there's going to be the ones that are just inquisitive and going to sit there and want to learn about these things and want to sort of teach themselves. And really and truly, you either do that, you sit around and waste time and watch bullshit, or, you know, you still have a social life and whatever, but you can really learn and create your own path here. And I think, in fairness, you know, hats off to the artifact community, because you guys created a whole community of builders and artists, like, you know, in many respects. Like, big shout out to Yobs, by the way, because he was helping me out when I was trying to learn Blender and shit a year and a bit ago on the start of my journey. So yeah. Anyway, someone's got a hand up. My bad.
Nah, we was feeling you. That's the truth. I'm one of those people. I feel like it's yeah. I said it in Compound. Asked me. It was like one of the first times I've ever actually gotten like an outro in the spaces, and I got so nervous. And literally on a mood board I got is, the more you do, the less you wait. Because if you sit around and do shit, and you're not going to be feeling like you're waiting on something to come, like you're actually doing what you want to do. Whereas if you're watching TV all day, you're like kind of like, man, I can't wait until like that like new life happens. Like, nah, it's like, it's not gonna happen. You're just gonna come back to the TV tomorrow. But anyways, Dre, I see you with your hand up. What's going on, man?
GMG, or is it GA? Are we allowed to say GA? I don't ever see any GAs. GAs out
You
there.
trendsetting?
Blasphemy,
GAs, my good people, GAs. No, I appreciate you saying that, Cass, because you dead on with that. Like, you have to put your energy behind creating exactly what you want, right? The more you do, the less you wait. That's the reason why I uprooted my family from Ohio and moved to Los Angeles, because of this specific topic we're talking about right now. When I was in Cincinnati letting people know about the future of technology and where the wave was going and what to pay attention to, they looked at me like I had a foot on my face. But when you put yourself in the surrounding areas of those people who are already moving in that trajectory, you start building a lot more and a lot faster. And, you know, my journey here led me to you guys and us coming together as a collective, CloneX LA, and meeting some of the dopest creatives that I would have never had an opportunity to come across if I didn't put myself into that trajectory when I saw that movement to be made. So that's the first point I wanted to make. Thanks for saying that, because that was one of the illest closing statements ever. But I definitely appreciate it. But what you know, the Banana Rat was saying about AI, I always convert things over into music analogies. Hip hop is my blood. Hip hop music is what led to my love for fashion and streetwear and sneakers and all of the things that people know me to represent. But it makes me think about how AI has helped even the music industry get to the point where it's at now, right? Like, if you sit back and think about how people used to have the entire bands to get the music that they wanted to create, and they would have to sit in that one studio recording room, and everybody had to be on point for that one recording. You know, Bobby, Robbie, Ricky, and Mike, everybody had to be on point. Like, are you ready? Let's go. If one dude was off on one note, you had to recut it, go back to it. And back then they was using the analog tape, recut the tape. It was all some bullshit. Robbie got his ass whooped because he wasn't performing like he was supposed to, was drinking too much, or messing up the music. You know what I mean? And then fast forward now into where we are, where you can be a one-man band with Fruity Loops and a MacBook. You can create and complete an entire album on a tour bus. You know what I'm saying? And how that has totally changed the creative process just from music, and the type of sound vibrations that you get with utilizing this specific technology, because it is different from sitting in a room and having live action and having a live band and a live guitar, live piano. You do get different sonics from the type of music that is created with this technology that we've been utilizing thus far. I'm extremely interested in seeing where it goes from this point. When Chat GPT 5 comes out and can do Fruity Loop creations with music, create me a whole album, create a whole Drake album and put my voice over his vocals and call it the Dre album. It's going to be a next level game changer. And that's what I've always been interested in, just to see where the technology can take us and how far our imagination can take us if we're not too afraid to move and make it happen. So yeah, I appreciate you guys, man. I appreciate all of you guys. And like I always say, we all are creators in our own way. I've never seen someone do the things that Alts does ever. And it blows my mind every single time he does something. And I'm not just saying that to blow you up, bro. I mean it. Like, sometimes I got to just walk away from the phone. Like, I can't even look at this. This is bananas, right? But I appreciate the way that you create. I appreciate the way P. Diddy creates, never having to touch a piano in his life, right? Never could sing a note right, but he know how to get Keisha Cole on Last Night and create a hit. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want anyone else out there who's listening to this to think that they're not a creator, because we all are in some form or facet. It can be just you know how to do music, you know how to create things in Blender. You might create human beings. You're still a creator. And don't ever doubt yourself in whatever it is that you can do, because you can take it to wherever you want to take it to as long as you move. And with that, I'm out. I got to jump in the shower. I just got finished doing my 100 push-ups.
Dang, Dre, I had a whole speech prepared for the creator ecosystem to say, hey guys, you don't have to actually make things to be a creator. You just have to bring your ideas to life, yada, yada, yada. Yours is so much better. My God, take my job.
I told you we could share, man. We can share. We can, tag team back again. You know what I mean? We got this.
We did have that deal going. Yeah, okay,
Let's do
calm
it.
down. Let's do it.
No, I appreciate that though, Dre. And you're right. Like, we all have our own stories to tell and our own perspectives, and it's like we shouldn't be scared of these technologies. They're just new tools to help us along the way.
I also say it's never too late to learn something new, because I'm one of those people. I would always like look up like how old somebody was when they first did something, just to make sure like I wasn't behind, because that's like that fear of like, oh, you're too old, like you can't learn it. your brain's too dumb now. Like, nah, you got this. Like, you can do if you got the time for it and you can put a little time in, you can make something happen. But Dre, appreciate you as always though. You know how it is. Big time. I see you got your hand up. What's going on? And anybody else listening, if you want to jump in, feel free to request. Just obviously talking about all sorts of things. We started with AI, and I do want to go back to the banana rack, because you have an interesting story I'd like to learn a little bit more about. But big time, we'll let you go first, and then I got a question for the homie.
Yeah, man, thank you. I'm sure this is something I could probably Google, but yo, what's like, you guys are probably more better at answering it, I guess. But what's with the Chat GPT like 2, 3, 4? Like, I heard about 4 today. I was like, 4? I was like, okay. Like, clearly I'm not keeping up with this stuff, but I wondered if any of you guys have used it or know what the difference is with these things. And naturally, it'll probably evolve even further. But yeah, anyone know?
I know that there's some like developments that have come. I personally haven't kept up too much with ChatGPT. I know it's terrible to hear. I write all my own tweets, and I do send all of any DMs that you get from me. They're from my brain and not from code or anything I'll put on paper. And I think ChatGPT is cool because there's a lot of different there's different things you can cut out, like time, like organization, and just speed is crucial. If you don't have to write everything like perfectly to a T, looking up different words, if you don't have a big vocabulary on hand, like it's cool, like use the tools at hand. But Ferry, I saw you got your hand up. Sorry.
No, it's all right. I saw a thread recently from Zain Khan, and he kind of like breaks down what GPT-4 can do now. So I'm just going to go through the little bullet points that he's got. So you can turn sketches into fully working apps and websites now, which is crazy. You can build a working video game within minutes. You can use it to prep for your exams, which is kind of like what you could do before. I don't know the exact details of it, but I guess they've added a completely different layer. You can build a working Chrome extension within a few hours without any prior coding knowledge. You can understand what's going on in an image and get useful context. So there's a picture. I'm going to pin this to the top.
Not gonna lie, you made me sound
there's-
like the oldest person in the room. Talking all this, I don't even really need that. I don't even really need that. You're just dropping all of this heat right now.
Oh, Cass, stop being so insecure. You got this. You're very talented. You don't need AI. The next thing, there's a picture of Barack Obama, and he's like, somebody's weighing themselves, and he's got his foot on it, and the AI says this picture is funny, like it can understand the context of a photo, which is nuts. You can use it to handle legal matters instead of hiring a lawyer. Some of you are going to need that. Get it to help with your parenting chores some way, somehow. Use the new GPT-4 powered bingo to get simple answers to complex questions. There's like a whole bingo thing. And a lot of companies, I don't know if you guys have noticed, a lot of companies have implemented GPT-4. I don't know if you guys saw what OnCyber's doing. Crazy. I'm so impressed. But Duolingo also has GPT-4 implemented into their app, and you can basically have real conversations. You can say, like, I want to talk about this, and then you can say, explain my answer. You can do role play. It's just crazy. And the last one is, I think, Khan Academy. I don't know if anybody has used that before. Basically, it's like a non-profit organization that teaches you all sorts of subjects, from like maths to like coding, all sorts. It's very, very good. Give it to your children. It uses a chat box to explain difficult concepts. So you can give it an equation and say, can you explain what I need to do first? And it will tell you, like, do you know the order of, I'm trying to get this up, but the order of like a process, what is it called? PEDMAS. Do you guys know what PEDMAS is? So it will ask you, and you will say, yes, I know this. And it will say, okay, so, and it'll be very friendly as well. It'll say, okay, so first you have to do the parentheses, and then you have to do this, you have to do that. It's nuts. So we've stepped up already by 1,000 gazillion years. I am terrified and also very, very excited for what's to come. Food Chain, you have your hand up.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, no, I just want to sort of caution the creatives, right, on this call, that essentially, right, like, it's a tool, right? And at the end of the day, right, like, concept is still king. You know, the gimmick is going to pass, right? And you're going to, you know, once you play with it a little bit, and I'm sure some of us have, but then you got to get to a point really where ultimately you want to visualize your concept. You want to do it. I think the power of this is you do it in a much quicker form. I mean, you think about the days, right? The Gutenberg press. I mean, these poor bastards used to have to typeset by hand. I mean, that's an incredible process, right? And then suddenly we had the ability to be able to type, and things have radically changed. But, you know, that story is still that story from way back when. So all I'm trying to say here is, like, it's this new tech. We look at it with, you know, with big doughy eyes, but at the same time, we got to realize that, like, I think, you know, the cream still rises to the top, right? Because concept is still king, and just continue to hone and work on your concepts, because without a concept, really, when you're playing with ChatGPT, what are you doing? It basically is like a, you know, like an app store filter, right? Like something like that. But if you've got something powerful to put behind it, then suddenly you've got the ability to shortcut and jump ahead and sort of define your concept at a much greater pace than ever before. So just a small point, but wanted to make sure that I sort of raised that because it is important.
Agreed. That's the hopium I need to keep practicing. because I'm telling you, that's we going back to the original part of the conversation. I think Ferry brought up with why people were afraid of AI and other things like that. It's always that fear for some people that they're like missing the wave, and I think Banana Rat and Dre kind of hit it with the whole, you sort of get into the music analogies. That reminded me of like when Autotune came out. And not gonna lie, y'all, I was a little bit of a hater on some of the Autotune mumble rap crowd. But hey, I have a whole bunch of it on Spotify. I listen to all sorts of music. But I just knew in that time period, I was like, damn, like these guys are really not doing a whole lot. Like they're not doing a whole lot, but it's the core idea of what they're doing. That's genius, and it worked. And so like I can either sit there and be a hater and be like not ever going to use auto-tune because I don't want to use auto-tune, or you can take the blessings bestowed upon you sometimes, which will be like saving you a few steps or making you sound a little cooler or whatever. Like that's life. That's the beautiful part about
Cass,
tech.
I feel exactly the same as you, man. I feel like a dinosaur in some ways, but I'm like, yo, take me off this roller coaster. I want to go back a bit. When Ferry was reading all that stuff out, I was like, fuck me, this shit is scary. Like, someone sent me a link the other day and it said, oh, you can do spreadsheets, you can do this, you can. I was just like, oh my god, like, slow down, slow the fuck down.
But that's to the food chains point as well. Like, since we're the people at the forefront of this, and we're already like, damn, y'all gotta like chill. Then your grandma, your mom, like the person that's been doing their job the same way for 35 years, which is like the unfortunate part. And this is a whole separate conversation on like re-educating workforces. But if you have someone do something for 35 years and then you tell them like, hey, here's this software that's gonna basically be something brand new that you got to learn, but it will do your job 5 times faster. Like those people can get a little angry, and we've seen that generation after generation. So it's like there are things to always keep an eye out for, and sometimes it's worth looking into. But like, yeah, there's pros and cons.
Well, I think like the pace of it is what people aren't quite being able to handle yet, right? You're talking about like these normal evolutions are pretty slow over time, but it's like with the pace of information that's already out there, like now this AI is teaching itself, right? And we're just going to see that exponential curve just continue to grow up. Like even like in its current state, like ChatGPT can already pass the bar. It can already do your taxes for you. Like people are using it to vet smart contracts for mistakes and security leaks. And now with this new update, it's getting even more visually based. You can literally like type in text and it can make a simple video game for you. Like it's just going to continue to get it's going to continue to get crazy, I think. But you're right, Cass. Like it's never too late. Like you could just sit on the sidelines and watch it just run off without you. But no, like if you can come in at any point in time, and it's like almost like the perfect time because you're going to bring in a certain set of perspectives, insight that you wouldn't otherwise have at a different point in your life, right? And I think it's just kind of all leading into this like same curve. So I think whenever you come in, it's never too late. But just keep in mind if it does like. If we do end up at, like I've been watching The Last of Us and like, that's like an analog world. So like you always have hope for those old skills that you once learned, right?
Bruh, no, we don't need that hope. Because I know for a fact, I've said it so many times, if the world is going to end tomorrow, I'm probably not the guy that's going to like, I got to hang out with some of you that got like gun closets and actual survival skills. So yeah, Ferry's got her hand up. I also see Alone Architect just joined. So we'll go to Ferry and then can pass it to Alone. What's going on, Ferry?
Cass, you're so scared.
Have you not seen zombie apocalypse movies? That's easily, look, I will deal with werewolves, vampires. Ghosts are like right there next to zombies because you can't really fight a ghost, but you can't fight all of the zombies in the world. That's just like my logical thinking behind it.
No, you're absolutely right. Zombies they're my number one fear. And if the FBI is listening in, don't make it happen, please. Because, even when I was learning how to drive, I was like, I don't want to do this automatic. I want to do it manual just in case there's a zombie apocalypse and then there's only manual cars around. You know what I mean? So I'm with you there. But back to the education system that we were talking about and how it's letting us all down. I think this is where the balance comes in, where AI is going to, you waste so much time, you waste so many years in school, in the education system. Yes, you learn some things that are very helpful, but most of it is a waste of time because they haven't advanced. They haven't leveled up their, their education progress the things that they need to be teaching for little humans to be prepared for life, right? So this is where the balance comes in, where AI helps accelerate that time that you've lost and you need to spend learning for something that you truly are passionate about. Now you can jump straight into it and you can start creating. So I'm a big fan of AI in that sense. Big time. Go ahead.
Yeah, I kind of I agree with you there, but kind of agree with what Cass was saying as well. Like, you're gonna piss off so many people. Like, think poets, musicians, novelists, like all these coders. You can write code. You can do so much shit. Like, you're gonna piss off so many people. Like, they're just gonna find a computer like in Terminator and try and break it or something. You know, like, I don't know, man. Like, it's moving too quick for me. I'm with Cass, man. Get me the gun closet, man.
Hey, I'm not saying break all the tech yet. I'm saying if it breaks, that's where we gotta go. Cause I don't have those. I got some random things online I can do if I have electricity. But yeah,
Bro,
I can hopefully entertain with the analog bit.
bro, we've all seen it. Man. They come for us eventually. Like, they get smart enough to realize we've got emotions. We're the weaker link.
But yeah, Alone Architect's got his hand up. What's going on, man?
Yo, what's up, guys? Cool space. Thank you for having me up and thank you for hosting. I kind of find myself like, I feel like I'm split in two when it comes to this. I find myself like in a way strongly kind of leaning on Cass and Big Time's side in certain ways. And then, and then the other part of me is like, stop being a Luddite, like, and it kind of screams out from the void. It's like, fucking boomer, but for me, I think, everything is a tool. I agree with Dre 100% in the sense that, like, everyone's an artist, from the way you dress to the way you walk, someone, the way they raise their kids, that is an art. If you create like exceptional, exemplary humans in the world, like everyone has like a propensity for some kind of like creation. I mean, look, we're all born, women create us out of almost nothing, like, so we are creative beings. But all that being said, a couple of things for me is like, in terms of an artist, I think sometimes toil creates a unique style for an artist, like we're taking the time to fucking really dig into something and sucking at it for a long time and making mistakes, like sometimes really create what differentiates like someone, or, we're set like those exemplary artists in whatever field, like apart from everyone else. And sometimes doing things the wrong way creates like, you find a style in doing that, you're like earning it. So I think that is something that I kind of feel, I'll admit it, scared of as an artist or as someone who loves like what each individual human brings to kind of the equation with their lens on the world, because artists have often been the barometers of society, kind of like processing all those intangibles through their eyes. They're kind of maybe a little bit more sensitive or a little bit more thoughtful. And I don't mean this in like a denigrating way to anyone, but I think that, that there's something said with that, but then there's something that is to be said as using it as a tool. And maybe someone who didn't have the time to kind of hone their skills, but has an amazing vision and a unique idea, or, someone who's a musician who's maybe not as good at 3D can actually kind of create something that they've always wanted to without having to outsource and without having the means. So everything's a tool. Everyone's an artist, but I think, I'm kind of split in the middle here. And part of me appreciates the human experience of, knowing that someone fucking woodshed for a long time to kind of get to that place.
Alone Architect, I just wanted to say I'm a big fan of your music, but Cass, go ahead.
Nah, that was all I had to say. And he does have some dope music if y'all haven't heard. I still have that Daddy song that just like constantly comes up, and yeah, it's cool. That's why I can even see it in your story of like how you came to where you are as an artist. Like you've seen what it's like to be a real like true rock and roller, but now you also see what it's like to just use the tools at hand and everything that you can actually benefit from, which is dope.
People this about loops, right? Cass, like, there's people who've been hating on like producers using fucking loops. producers, like everything, like you were saying with auto-tune, like everything's a tool. And, you have those, I guess, purists that have been like, oh, you didn't fucking play that drum beat, sit down and like get coordinated with all your limbs, or you didn't program it and kind of create your own sounds. And there are purists that are like really into synthesis, that really love fucking making, or amazing programmers in synths that think using presets are kind of like cheats. So, I mean, you go down the line throughout like the evolution of technology, and someone's always going to be a hater. People hated on Jimi Hendrix when he had a busted fucking amp and he created distortion. I love Jimmy, one of my favorites. But, people were hating on that and saying, oh, it's not like this, it's not that. So, it's kind of a convoluted topic, man. So I kind of agree with you, though.
I love it. Also a huge Jimmy fan. I was raised on all the good rock and roll. There's still a lot of dope art. We don't even need to get into a music conversation. That we'll save that for another spaces. But she kind of had her hand up. And I also see we got Dom in the building. So we're going to throw it to Shekinah, and then we'll go to Dom.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I want to kind of hit on a point or ask a question. I think to Ferry's point, I don't know, a little bit a while ago, and in reference to education. I know for me, like I don't work well with my hands at all. So trade school would have been a heck no for me. I would not have benefited from it. Like I needed to go through college to do law school, et cetera, to be where I'm at today. But I think trade school is something that I don't know, like it's not talked about enough in junior high or even high school, just to get people on that route. I think not in junior high, I guess in high school you have like wood shop. You might have, back in the day, you might have had home ec, Lord. And I, at least when I was in high school, there was also like an automotive, like mechanic type course. And I don't know, like I wonder what you guys think is the future of like trade school, education, because a lot of people have said, yeah, AI is passing the bar, it's passing medical, whatever the medical exam is, and all this other stuff. So like, what do you see being the future of trade schools and how that can just further advance, folks and even in a creative way as well?
Oh, I'm a huge proponent of people actually having like real tangible skills, because it's all like the Banana Rat said at the start of the conversation, everything's moving to a skill-based economy. It's, what can you actually do and what can you bring to the table? And it doesn't have to be something that's always tangible, because even people going to art, and this is going to probably sound bad after everyone who said college is a scam, but I'm one of those people that I don't hate on art and design schools so much. Like, do I think that, yeah, like you can learn art and design at any time, but something about facilitating the connections and creating those platforms for people, that's something that can't be denied, because, well, yes, we can have a billion skilled people. Then when all these companies are like, well, who's the best? How are these connections getting made? And it's always going to come down to kind of like, hey, who do you know? Who do you trust? Because you don't want to necessarily just like sign someone up and then next thing you know, it's just an implosion of personalities and clashes of concepts and ideas. And there's a lot of human elements I think we're always going to have no matter what. And yeah, some things will always stick around.
Yeah, Cass, this is Banana Red. I run large PMOs, and what we're seeing up in Canada, right? So I do global Fortune 500 companies, but in Canada, we're seeing a shift that the community college system is starting to catch up a bit, and you're starting to see them not just offer traditional mechanic shops and LiDAR training, but you're starting to get training courses that show them how to create metaverse video games, show them how to create art, show them how to go in and rendering, right? And they have really great co-op programs. So as a project management office, we take advantage of these co-op programs and bring them in. And it's not so much in those traditional, and I'm not shitting on the traditional courses of mechanics and stuff like that, but it's some of these newer creative types of learning technologies. And I think you're starting to see some countries like Canada and Australia are a little bit ahead of some of these other areas in doing some of this transitioning. And I'm a really big fan of that co-op effect that ties into that creative part, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like that's it. It's going to be needed. There's got to be a way for people to get connected, because there's so much talent out there. There's so many people, and that's a problem in and of itself. You know, same thing with people have asked me about with Web3 and music, because everyone screams like win music NFTs. And I think it's going to be a similar thing. There's going to be some people who can create, you know, initial conversations or artistic direction on their own. And there's going to be people who thrive more once they get just some sort of platform or place that can help introduce them to the right people. But let's throw it to Shekinah real quick, and then Dom, we'll go to you, because I'm sure Shekinah's got something interesting to say.
No, I just wanted, well, I guess the only interesting thing I have to say is, yes, I would agree, college is some type of a scam. And so if I could recommend anything, it would be totally community college. Do community college, and then like all those like certificates, because a lot of community colleges now have certificates where you can specialize, or you can say, hey, I want to specialize in this. And all you need is have had a BA or an AA. And if you can combine that with trade school and kind of just get your experience, there's so many ways within the US, and I don't know about other countries, but within the US to get education or start your career or get a degree a lot cheaper and not be indebted. And to be honest, to even shit on law school, like, bro, I mean, like law school is like you're reading like about old cases, and that's how you learn like how the law is applied, but it's based on old cases. And then it's a lot of memorization. You have to remember things. And then when you take the bar, it's applying what you remember. Like you have to remember, like they say, take about, I don't know, like 3 to 4 months of remembering, you know, like certain laws, certain things. And then when you get to the bar, you need to know how to apply them. But if you can just remember, that can be good enough. And you can sometimes get points just from memorization. So like, yeah, a lot of it, I don't know. I've met so many different lawyers who have 10, 20 years experience, and I listen to them and I'm like, you're an idiot. And I've only been a lawyer for 2 years. And there's some things I certainly don't know. And there's some things that I know better than someone that has, you know, a decade more experience than I do in practicing law. So I don't know, like if I could say anything, I would say screw the 4-year thing, unless you want to go into medical school or law school or something like that. But I mean, goodness, yeah. I think community college and trade school are excellent alternatives to 4-year university. So that's all I want to add.
This is a great opportunity for me to give a massive shout out to Artifact for giving me a job based on my very rare meme making qualification. So there's that.
I actually wanted to talk on that really fast, Shekinah, like on the education side of things. Like, I really loved your perspective. And we're seeing kind of this breakdown really of the current system, which is kind of just all memory based, right? Like students are starting to use AI and ChatGPT to circumvent this thing. And now they're needing to figure out how to use AI to detect AI, right? Like the whole thing needs to be reshaped. And Cass earlier was talking about YouTube University. Like, I mean, that's how so many of us learn so many of these new emerging technologies. And it's interesting because I wonder, like, will a big chunk of the education just become decentralized, you know, in that way, because we can, you know, disseminate information at a much faster pace than an education system can, right? And in that regards to trade schools, like, I think they're going to be very important moving forward because, you know, talking about AI, we're a long ways away from like a robot being able to come into your house and fix your plumbing. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, we can do like memorization based things right now, but like, yeah, the trade schools, I think will last a lot longer.
Hey, I think Mass Robotics is sitting in the spaces, and they make robots that probably could do that. I'm not like, I don't know if y'all have seen those videos, but damn, if those things can do backflips and front flips and shoot AKs, like I can't do that. Like that's out of my wheelhouse. And so, you know, they might beat me in plumbing too. But yeah, I totally agree with you all. That's why I think there's gonna be a lot of balance. There's gonna be some people who learn how to work with these new almost robot things, and then some people who are just really good at doing things the original way. I want to throw it to Dom, see what they're thinking. We also just brought Day After up as well.
Hey, thanks for having me up. I appreciate the conversation. I've been using AI pretty much every day since early last year. And I got into it because I just wanted to generate ideas for my 3D design stuff. And it basically just gives you superpowers, right? It gives you the ability to go from concept to um, pretty amazing stuff. And then now you can even put 2D images into a 3D generator, and they're starting to come out and they're getting better and better. So you can actually make full 3D assets, all within like a matter of hours, from concept to 3D asset. So it really just gives you the ability to go from concept to, you know, basically replacing all those designers in between. Not replacing because you're doing it yourself. But yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on what everyone was saying. A lone architect, especially, I think art is traditionally obsessed with the amount of work that it takes to do something and the amount of time it takes to master a skill. And I think that's still very important. But I think the new wave of sort of digital art renaissance that we're going through right now is kind of based more on the thought behind it. And you see that with people who are popular on social media, they're tastemakers, right? So I think designers with a good sense of taste um, will go far using AI.
So very quickly, Dom, can we talk about that just while you're here? Because you're the person that came to mind as I saw this conversation about AI, right? Like just having been in some of those chats with you and seeing the incredible work that you do. The issue that I have, right, it's about relinquishing control to the machine. And every time I've tried to kind of iterate or work with the machine, I felt that I've had to give up a little bit of my vision. Is this a dance that you feel like you have to do when you're putting these products out, or is this something that you feel like you have total and full control?
So, in terms of my workflow, I still think you should absolutely master whatever application you're gonna build in. So for me, I started with Cinema 4D, and then more recently started using Blender. Um, you still need to know how to model. You still need to know everything about materials, but in some instances, you can create pretty awesome things, sticking things into 3D generators online, but you still have to know like what to do. And the same thing with image prompts. I'm using a lot of image prompts with Midjourney for my backgrounds and my 3D renders, and I'll still generate 50, 60, 70 images just to use one image in my renders. So it is a dance. It's just trial and error. But for the 3D side, you still have to know how to use those programs. It just takes time, but you're also saving a bit of time sometimes when you're generating these 3D models.
Yeah, so I think for me, because dude, the hardest sell out of this whole conversation, and we've been talking for an hour, nobody has sold me harder than Dom, and it's purely because he said that it would give you superpowers, and I don't know why, but that one hit. That was like, all right, hold up. I was like, what is he about to say? Like, because I've seen your work, and it is like super crazy, and just hearing like how you're talking about it, like I didn't know you could generate 3D like objects and stuff like that, because I can't model. I don't have the time to learn how to sit down and model as good as some of the other people on this stage. So it's like, no way. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's really cool to hear, and you might have officially AI built me on the 3D art or 2D side. So I'm gonna have to just be in your DMs and ask how you get things done.
Yep, I got you.
But hey, let's throw it to day after. Then we'll throw it to Big Time and Yobs.
Yo, thank you for hosting the space, and I like the discussion going on. Some of the stuff I just wanted to touch up on what was mentioned. I myself am an artist, right? I went to school. I did 2 years as a graphic designer. Transferred, did 4 years traditional BA. So I know how to, draw, paint, ceramics, all of that. Um, and my perspective right now is that I'm embracing AI, more specifically Mid-Journey. Earlier today, on this main tweet, I posted an image of one of my art pieces and then the result from a prompt. And I've been using it like that in order to generate more ideas and to also see the possibilities of where I can take my art. Right now, I work as a graphic designer, and I've been using ChatGPT to help me generate ideas that I could then bring to the writer and see how we can, manipulate that and maybe come up with some new campaigns or different ways to approach certain messaging. I work in the text industry, so it's very boring stuff, but I was able to generate some prompts that gave me a bunch of ideas. At the end of the day, I ended up handpicking the best ones and manipulate it. So I don't see a big concern for this tech to replace us just yet. But like it was mentioned earlier, like there will be new jobs being offered. I feel like in the future, there'll be prompt crafters. Like you'll be able to generate almost everything. Imagine Rick and Morty, like the interdimensional time cable, but you just generated that whole thing. And I could go on, but I'll just keep it at that for now.
You brought out the whole interdimensional cable. You could have gone a lot of places. But hey, it looks like whatever you're saying got a lot of people's hands up. So let's throw it to Big Time, and then we'll go to some of the others.
Yo, I was just gonna say, it's a great topic, really good, fun, great sharing ideas and hearing people's thoughts on this stuff. I'm still probably sided with Cass on this. I don't know. We'll see how time goes. When they start enslaving us and making us their bitches. But pleasure having you guys. Pleasure being on the stage with you guys. Thanks for meeting up. I need to go eat because I eat like 6 times a day. I'm just a fat bastard, so I need to eat. It's feeding time. Catch you guys.
Hey, you got to keep the energy up. We got the revolution coming, the robot revolution. So prepare yourself mentally, physically.
Cool. Take care, guys. Have fun.
All right, we'll throw it to Alone, and then we got Yobs in the room too, so can't leave the man hanging. So Alone Architect, what's going on?
Yo. So as to what Day After was saying, and just to call myself out as a complete hypocrite, I'm going to show the dichotomy of like what my conundrum before, is that like, so for me, I'm an artist and my strongest tool is music, right? But I'm very multidisciplinary. I do photography, I edit, color correction, blah, blah, blah. That's not the point. But the point is that recently I have been developing an animated series, and that's not even the point. But to bring it to pitch, I don't have the skill set as like an artist. Like I used to draw, but now it would take me way too long to kind of like create like a pitch deck, and too much money for what I have right now to outsource it because I'm a picky bastard, and there'd be a lot of revisions, and that should cost money when when you're working with someone. So, what I did, I kind of used it similarly to Day After, is I went into Mid-Journey and I generated, probably close to 1,100 images, with prompts of whatever I was looking for. And then because I'm good at Photoshop, I would just cut things out and then create my own composites. And then I use that to basically create the whole pitch deck. I created my own font. It gave me some font. Then I took that and created the whole alphabet, put it into like Fonto, or what is it called? Calligrapher. But my point is, then I did all the copy and then sent it out to pitch. And there was good response, but a couple of things was there's too much information. So you need to kind of tone down the copy. So then what did I do? I'm like, all right, so I used ChatGPT and I put some of the copy into ChatGPT, and I basically told it to kind of like refine the copy and like condense it into like a pitch worthy blah, blah, blah. And, you know, some things I liked what we had better. Some other things I liked what ChatGPT had better. So then I took it and kind of appropriated it and like fixed certain things. So, I mean, had like at least Mid Journey not existed, I wouldn't have been able to kind of like do this to the degree of proficiency that I wanted to and get as picky. So it's pretty amazing. And that's where I'm a hypocrite and where I'm like completely torn, you know?
Boo this man for using AI and telling us his real process. Oh man, no, that's awesome to hear though. You said 1,100 images. That's excessive, sir. You need to calm down. I'm gonna be real.
Dude, I have them in my phone like roll. It's daunting. I'll show you one day. It's terrible.
Damn. All right, let's start to Yavs, and then we'll go to some of the other hands up.
Yeah, what's going on, everyone? Thanks for having me on stage. Fantastic discussion so far. Absolutely loving it. I'm actually a huge fan of AI. Use it actually like quite a lot to help like conceptualize stuff and like get ideas going and things like that. Because as a creative, you know, sometimes like especially with like the writing stuff, it's sometimes hard to get like the ball rolling. And I think others, especially like music writers and writers, will also understand that sometimes, you know, sitting down and starting is probably the most difficult part, and then once you get the flow going, it's easier to, you know, get things out. And I think like ChatGPT really helps with like getting ideas across and like getting ideas started. So it's like in my opinion, currently in its current state, AI is just a massive tool to help us excel in whatever we might be doing. Can be detrimental to some sectors, and obviously help others flourish. I think currently where it might be hurting the most is like digital painters. They would obviously be, you know, getting a bit less work for conceptualizing stuff and whatnot. But on the other hand, you know, it also helps like the small guy, like it was mentioned literally just now. Putting a pitch deck together is quite costly if you want to, you know, get all of the images for each slide painted up. Whereas obviously you can get into Midjourney and do, you know, thousands of generations pretty quickly in like a day or so. For instance, for us in like Clone Force, we wanted to create some really cool like stones, echo stones, and have them based around certain DNAs. And a lot of the process in the beginning was conceptualizing and dreaming up all of these different stones, but like having hundreds of variations. And then the ones that we liked, we then took those and passed them onto like a 3D modeler to help them model. So yeah, it really helps as a tool to save money for the, you know, smaller businesses and companies to go and do a lot of conceptual work. And then of course, there's one other thing though that like I feel like you can't really compare, especially with like the writing stuff, and maybe like music writing also is like, you know, in like poetry, the aim really of like poetry and like music and things like this is to try and say as much as possible with as little words as possible. And that's something I don't think AI has like fully grasped just yet, because whenever it's trying to explain something, it really dives into detail in what it's trying to tell you. Whereas with like music writing and poetry, you're kind of trying to do the opposite, and AI simply can't yet quantify what emotion and feeling and perspective from a human mind just is. And I don't think we'll ever reach that, because consciousness is something absolutely bonkers. Even if you was to simulate the whole human brain, would it even be possible to know, you know, perception without actual experience is a different thing. So there's many avenues that like this opens up. Loads are beautiful, but I think art is more than just an image or like a piece of writing. Art is the idea, and how you execute the idea is up to you, whether it's by AI or your own hand. But more than anything, it's the idea that is art. So, you know, like that's never going to get taken away from us. So yeah, let's keep it going. This conversation is fantastic.
Yo, somebody got to clip that one. But I also got to say, these Yellow Jackets all operate the same, because Vega was talking about AI music, and he was giving it in Vega fashion, where it was real funny because it was about some Dr. Seuss madness. And yeah, apparently it does not pass the music test so far. So musicians, rappers, artists, poets, writers, you might be safe for a little bit longer. But let's throw it to Damshi, and then we'll go to Dre Millie. And if anybody wants to jump up, we'll keep it going for another like 15, 30 minutes, and then we'll wrap it up. But feel free to request.
Hey, right on. Actually, I think Dre had his hand up first, so let's go to him.
Damn, clones in true fashion, always so polite.
That's a man of quality right there, bro. You can't fade that guy. No, for sure. I wanted to say two things real quick. One, it's my guy Dark Data is in the audience. If you haven't seen the content that he created and put up yesterday, it was absolutely banana nut bread. Him and I have been talking about how, just for instance, and this falls into what I always say. The P. Diddy reference, right? I saw some content that he created many, many moons ago, and I hit him up and was like, yo, I love what you do. You are absolutely amazing. Let's come together, throw our minds together, and come up with something. I said, what's missing in this community is content that actually embraces the culture that we stem from. So let's do something together. And he threw that one piece of content I put out before with my clone wearing the Air Jordan 4s, and just bananas, blew it out the water. And he showed me he showed me a sample of what he's creating that he dropped yesterday. And I was like, yo, you gotta put that out. And we went and scouted some other clones and put their clones into it. And my man just performed on next level. So if you haven't seen this content, check it out. He is amazing. He's a genius, just beautiful work, first and foremost. And now my second point, it was actually a question for the people who utilize the artists who are Blender 3D artists, right? And they create from using those programs. How do they feel about other artists who use AI to create and not necessarily creating from, the same type of programs or blenders or whatever, and so on and so forth? Because I did have a conversation with someone else in the CloneX community who shall remain nameless at this specific time, because I don't know if he wants me sharing his viewpoints. But we had a really good discussion about this months ago, as if that equates them as an artist. If you can go to an AI prompt and type it up and say, hey, I want you to do this, and then it comes and spits something out, and then you put it out like, yo, I just did this, right? And we all know my stance on that. I just said, everybody's an artist, and you don't necessarily have to be the one who knows how to utilize the program directly in order to be an artist. But the guy I was speaking to felt otherwise. But I was curious to see how the people who are in this space feels about it.
All the food chain.
I'd love to take that. I'd love to take that answer. I mean, I just, for me, it's like 3D is one of these things. It's the most difficult, most painful thing that you can ever learn. Just grasping the concept of the third dimension while having sort of grown up as a creative who's always worked in the second dimension. It is a moment, honestly, of nirvana when you reach it and you start to understand different planes. But that said, there is no animosity from where I sit. Again, concept is king. It really doesn't matter what your medium is. It's about the concept that you're presenting. And personally, I wish I would have saved myself a hell of a lot of time, and I was just born later. If I was born later, I would have been able to sort of skip that step, right, and those fundamentals that really didn't do anything for my creative brain, right? The concept is the muscle that you need to stretch. The how I get there, the using the tools, to me personally as a creative, that's not nearly as important. So I say all that to say I welcome that and I embrace that. I will say, putting a prompt, not to just counter everything I said, but putting a prompt in and calling yourself an artist maybe is not the thing either. Maybe there's some middle ground, but as a whole, it's definitely a welcome space. And I absolutely wish I had sort of learned this thing later on.
Food chain, I respectfully disagree, because I feel like you're one of those types, even if you were born 1,000 years from now, you might be just doing some like gnarly stuff in some like 4D dimensional deep well, let it dive, or like, who knows, like, I think that some of us are just, our brains are wired to like push the boundaries. And I keep talking about like, I'll never do Neuralink. I'll never have it. I'm probably going to have one of those kids that's like just a nerd about it, just like obsessed with it. I'm going to have to like slap him up and be like, no, Neuralink in this house. But yeah, I mean, I think there's like levels to this, but I'm not gonna devolve this conversation. Day after, let's throw it to you, and then we'll go to Yobs.
Yeah, so what I wanted to add to that is more like a comparison, right? We have DJ Khaled, who's a producer and has delivered multiple hit records. Then is he any more or less a producer than Kanye or Timbaland, who actually go there and craft and create everything? It depends, right? It depends how you look at it. But at the end of the day, what matters is do we have a great record and is it generating sales? When it comes to like the 3D aspect, right? When you render it, as of right now, you render in a 2D image. I know when I was messing around with Midjourney, I put on a prompt for like cause figurine type of thing, and I was able to generate some like 3D-esque looking images, but I wouldn't take that and claim it as like, oh, I did this, I'm a 3D artist. So it really depends, right, on the context for the person.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, in my opinion on like this is, I feel like as long as you're not misleading people, like it's all okay. Like if you want to use AI to get your work out there and you want to use it to, like, I don't know, make the idea that you haven't learned, you haven't been painting for like 20 years to be able to paint, because there's a lot, like you see some things in this space, possibly like you may have noticed, may not notice, but like a project dropping a whole 10K generation like of AI art, but then not really being transparent about it being AI art is misleading, and like those sort of things, like, just shouldn't be done. But if you're like, yo, I'm an AI artist and you own it, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like, you know what I mean? It's just your medium. That's your medium. But I don't think you should be, using AI to generate art and then being like, look at this painting I did. It took me so long and all of that just for the clout. But, that's sort of like my stance on it. But like, use it as a tool and be proud of it. Like it's a tool, just like coding is a tool. Coding is almost like AI as well. You're just putting in a string of things and then you press enter and out comes this whole website, for instance. It's all like, it's just the next layer up that's going to help us excel a lot more. But yeah, and again, like if you're using AI to like, create a smart contract or code something, you still have to understand code to be able to implement these things. So it's not a case of like you're going to be like losing, jobs or this and that. It's just going to help people excel. But yeah, if you're using it, just say you're using AI.
Wait, you're telling me I can't be a CTO since ChatGPT came out? What is this? What is this rug, bro? What do you mean? Wait, so I want to throw it to Damshi, and then I see we got Blender Dak who just joined, and he, if anybody is considered an extreme creative technologist, it is this man. So very interested to hear what he has to say. So we'll go to Damshi, and then we'll go to Blender Dak.
All right, right on. I'll try and make this quick. You guys are saying really all of it, and a lot of what you're saying is really resonating with me, especially how important the concept is, how this is a tool, and how you still need to understand things like perception, composition, all that good stuff. I went to university, studied fine art, conceptual art, fashion, and I had a professor in my painting class. He told me that digital art wasn't real art, right? And I was just doodling on my Surface at the time, and back in 2015, 2016, looking through like Beeple, where he was at the time. And then I had another professor in another class, conceptual art theory, who said painting wasn't real art, that it was all about the idea that painting was just illustration, right? So you're always going to have these detractors and these would-be supposedly experts who have their input, and we'll kind of, you know, try and say this isn't real art or that isn't, you know, whatever. The way I look at all this technology is like, if you look at all these top artists, Murakami, Daniel Arsham, Alex Pardee, so on and so forth, Tom Sachs, they have in some cases hundreds of assistants doing a lot of their work for them, but we don't say that they're not real artists, right? So that's kind of how I view this stuff, as virtual assistants. So yeah, that's really it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I will say that's those artist positions, as like, I don't even know what they're traditionally called, but like for me and for others, I'm sure like you know how it is. It would have been a legendary opportunity if you could have ran around like a huge artist studio and helped them out and do all sorts of things. And to say that that's not art just because someone else is assisting to a degree is, you know, it sucks.
Yeah, and now you can be your own art studio, and kind of, you know, obviously eliminates a lot of jobs, but I think it's just the transition of things. But yeah.
And then I might add to that real quick. A friend of my college roommate, he's at Temple University, and he works with other people in there. But there's a guy there who's a renowned ceramic artist, and he has an assistant, right? And this assistant he sculpts these statues or like angel-looking things, but the main artist, you know, owns that design work. So this guy cannot go outside and recreate the same thing because the main artist A, you know, owns that idea, creative vision for that creation. So going back to what was said earlier, like you need to have, you know, the idea and the vision is really what counts. It doesn't matter how you get to the end result, just don't mislead people.
Big facts. We got a few people requesting that can't join, so I'm gonna ask some people to step down, and then also want to throw it to Blender Dak.
Hey guys,
right on. I'll step down.
Thank you guys.
Same.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Hello.
Really cool space, man. Really cool topic. I think I'm completely agree with most of what you're saying. I was just want to add like another thing to I think it was Namashi, the one that was saying about those assistants. Those classical artists, they spent like years, decades training those assistants so they can do like perfectly art. Now you can also train these AIs, you know. You can train an AI to look for specific things you want, and even if you are like a classic artist, even if you are doing paint things and you think this will affect in any way, you can train with your own job and make like a better assistant so you can increase, I mean, you can put you in a next level. And I think this is really awesome. This is something that will change completely the creative space, the creative industry. And I think we'll get it like too fast that we don't even realize. I mean, it's going to be one of the things that I'm more excited about AI and is how fast will be the creative part, and to give the creative part not in the same hands that it always are, you know, like always being in some kind of people, but giving the creative part to other kind of people that will never they will never maybe get the risk or get the time to learn specific areas to make like that pitch that we were saying, or to make a concept, or to make to develop their own idea. So I think this is the thing that is more exciting for me. I'm really hoping to see, I don't know, in 3, 5 years or 10 years, this young generation, my kids, little kids, like having all these tools and creating things that we were limited maybe with the way we were, or the brain, how our brain is sculpted, or how our brain was built up in the back of these back years. So it's gonna be crazy. So I'm really excited, and really cool topic, man.
Yeah, glad to have you here, and I'm not surprised that you're a big fan of AI, because I swear you're one of those people that anytime I have talked to you, you always have something that you bring up, and it's just some crazy like new technology that it's like groundbreaking or almost there. So it would be cool to see what you play around with, and if there's any AI stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, Blender DAC is literally a billion steps ahead. Every time we talk to him, he's already discovered everything. Nothing is new to him. But I wonder if Blender DAC, you've heard of, let me just see what it was called. Wonder Dynamics. It's called Wonder Studio. Have you heard of it?
Yes.
Of course you have.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think those tools, for the ones that haven't listened about, go and Google Wonder Dynamics, because Wonder Studio will maybe drop you to other place, but Wonder Dynamics, and this tool and these kind of tools will give like people that they have like really great ideas, but they don't have maybe the ability or the big team or the resources or the budget to develop these kind of tools are gonna be crazy. I was like mind blowing. I was talking with someone from the team about these kind of tools, and I think most of the tech companies, like big tech companies like Nvidia or like other big companies, are pushing so these tools get better and better every day, and so they can use resources, they can use data sets, they can use also a lot of servers running these tools. So in the future, it's gonna be like you were saying, Cass, it's gonna be more like it's your idea, and it's gonna be really easy to put your ideas in an AI or something, in a tool that will replicate those ideas. It's gonna be crazy. Even there is I think one of the other last things about AI was like putting, we were talking also with the team about, is putting your dreams, and an AI can interpret it and can read like with raw data of your dreams, like what kind of dreams, and represent those on images. So that's, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be, and so fast. I think it's gonna be faster and faster, and any idea will be like really not easy, but will be faster to create, to replicate, or to build something. So yeah, really excited.
If anybody doesn't know, Wonder Dynamics, Wonder Studio, is like an AI tool that like automatically animates, lights, composes CG characters into live action scenes. So you don't need any 3D softwares, you don't need any products, like production hardware or anything. All you need is a camera, and you record whatever you want of like yourself, and you just slap it into a scene, and it blends everything. It's just insane.
Yeah, totally. It's more like focus on the performance, on the emotions, on the idea, and less on the technical part that at the end you will need to, but it's going to be easier. You will have data, and you will have everything like pull it from the AI, so you can make your comp, you can change characters. I was imagining this in the future, built on, I don't know, or on glasses or our lenses. I don't know what kind of tech is gonna be inside our vision, but imagine this kind of tech immediately doing that, so you can change and compose and do everything on top of what you're seeing. So it's really exciting to see everything, and to see all these ideas coming around and people using it, like we were saying, like people using it, putting a concept, putting your idea on that, and giving a message to everyone, giving the message and putting your ideas out there. So yeah, really crazy.
So we're not very far away from watching a movie and thinking, you know what, I want to be the main character, and just slapping your own face on there, or maybe your clone. The possibilities are endless. We have Shekinah with her hand up, and also I really, really want to speak to Frankie as well. Shekinah, you first.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I put it in the comments talking about like writers, because I think someone had mentioned like writing in Chat GPT. And I think, yeah, Chat GPT is really good with some aspects of writing. Like I use it to help me with like the log line, or what you call like the tagline, of a story. But for the most part, I'm going to be adamant and say, as a writer, I think that's something that Chat GPT can't fully like replace when it comes to, I don't know, like movies. Just think of the Oscars and some of those, like not your Hollywood major, like, I don't know, cookie cutter movies, but the ones that are truly the tear jerkers and really have you all up in your feelings and just go a lot deeper. I think a lot of those stories, whether it's books, whether it's obviously comic books, whether it's movies, short films, whatever, when it comes to writing, when the writer's writing, they're usually writing from a personal perspective, or stories that they're emotionally invested in or familiar with. And I just don't see AI fully being able to capture just that human like element, that human, emotion type element, no matter how much you may try to describe it. And unless, I don't know, you read your whole diary to AI and you say, create this character that has a story or a story arc with this background, maybe, you have it like doing that, but without, like throwing in that type of history and that, to build that character development. I'm not sure that you would see AI just like, bringing that, to fruition. So I think, certainly I would say with writers and storytelling, like I think you still want to have a human aspect. And I would say for me, like I would love, I love what, I can't remember Fairy would have to repeat the company that she just mentioned, because I do want to write that down, because originally I wanted my comic to be like I wanted to be 3D, like a 3D short. I couldn't afford it. It's too expensive to hire someone to do a 3D short. Like it's too much money. And so what I do love about AI is potential for things to be more accessible with 3D. And then, but when I'm working though, I still want to hire an actual artist, because I want them to bring their flair into it. I don't want it to just be AI. So that's another thing. I believe art comes from the deepest parts of our souls, like it's an expression of who we are. And I want to continue to collaborate with artists that aren't just using AI 100%, but are also creating some of it on their own, or the majority of the sketches on their own, and not just relying on AI. So that's just my input.
Love to hear it. Let's throw it to Frankie. And I know we've had Durson here, who has just been so patient. I know we have skipped over you a few times, brother. So you might be the person who gets to leave us with some last thoughts. So Frankie, let's go to you. Then we'll go around.
Hey fam, you guys can throw it to Durson first if you want. I'm happy to wait.
Damn, why are these clones so nice, bro? Everybody, every single time, like nobody interrupts each other. Like I think I'm the only person who interrupts people, and it's probably really rude. So yeah, Durst, let's go to you.
What's up, Cass? I just want to say hi, man. Say hi to everybody. I've been in the spaces a little bit less, kind of like balancing out and stuff. And but yeah, man, it's great to hear your voice, man. Been a little while. I don't always catch the time, when you're up. And Frankie, thank you very much. Great to hear you too.
Durst, I mean, we do love having you in the space, and I'm always lurking. So I catch you in some of the bad take spaces at night and other things. But no, man, I'm glad you're up here. You got any AI stuff that you've been into? I know you're one of those.
I've been.
It's always experimenting.
There was one collection I was like scooping up on the drops. It was like it was called like the Demiurges. But yeah, I do like. I think that AI, man. I've tried to tinker with it myself, and it was kind of tough. But now I have like a new computer, and I'll probably be able to like do that better on the new hardware. It's just been like getting everything organized and get my like space organized so I can go create stuff. I haven't been like using AI, but like I've been definitely watching. I have like a few pieces from like an AI collection that I thought were super dope, and one of them like looks kind of like my clone, like very like eerily similar. But yeah, absolutely cool. I'm just kind of taking it all in, my man, taking it all in.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it. Well, we've almost gone for 2 hours, guys. So think we will close it out here. I know Blender Doc is like I said, the AI wizard, so he probably should give us some parting words on anything. Actually, let's
Wait.
That's not to be without tech. Or
No, I'm not wizard. And I'm just lucky and fortunate to be in the right moment at the right place to hear, to learn from big guys, So
I want to say my piece, Cass. Why you got to do me like that?
Holy fuck! Did I just? I really
again.
just was like, hey, I gotta go, guys. Screw Frankie.
Did your dog poop again?
Frankie, let's. I apologize. Go ahead.
I'm super hurt, dude. I'm gonna be crying after this. My fist is balled up in the air, Cass. I'm angry. Nah. Basically, I love this conversation. I always miss the creator spaces because of my schedule, so I'm happy to be here and listening because this has been super informative. I really just have like a thought of like where AI might go, and one of my first thoughts when I started hearing about it, because when I think of like modeling. Back in the day, you used to be able to accept money from, let's just say, Olay. I don't know why that came to my mind. I'm doing like a soap commercial. I don't have to, disclose that this is an ad. I don't have to disclose that this was paid promotion until recently. Up until a couple years ago, like I think you legally have to hashtag ad, have to legally hashtag paid promotion. So I just wonder with AI in the future, is it, because right now it's kind of like so new, there's no thoughts around that. And I wonder in the future if you're going to have to like hashtag partner with AI or, hashtag like some type of disclosure that you use AI. And even further than that, when I was at the like EXO house, the Weekend's producers talking, blah, 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 we're talking about AI. He's saying that like he sometimes uses AI to make like a beat drum, to make like a, some type of bone to a song. And I asked him after, I'm like, do you think in the future, like you will owe rights to, let's just say DALL-E or Unity, or I don't even know the AI company names. It's like, if we do use AI for art and commercialize it, I wonder if there's ever going to be like a set percentage fee that we'll have to pay back to that company in some way, shape, or form. It's just thoughts that I have. I don't know if anyone has any answers. I know it's not an answerable question now, but I think about that.
That would actually, I would have to almost lean on Shekinah over there, because I wonder about like the legality of how some of like the IP is being spread around. And I've seen some things brought up about like artists saying that they didn't agree to have their images used in like the prompts and other software being built out.
Yeah, no, I was going to say yes to what Frankie's saying, because I think at some point it's going to be like consumer confusion. And I think that's the big thing. Like people may rely, like you said, with the hashtag, hey, this is an ad, I'm being paid to do this. And I guess I don't know why I have to give like Kim Kardashian or whatever, like whoever's big on Instagram, they got a big following. So they post something and people get excited, like, okay, I want to buy that. But they don't understand that like she or whoever is being paid to post that picture. And so that's why you kind of have those laws, to protect consumers so they can understand what's going on behind the scenes. And so I think with AI, that will eventually happen. And I think it probably needs to happen, because bro, sometimes you can't tell, like, is that junk real? Like, what? Like, you just, the art is that good, and if you don't know, like, who's putting it out, like, I think it'd be a good idea. On the creators portion of it, like, I think that's just being worked out now legally. I would say right now the U.S. Copyright Office, I don't know about internationally, I haven't looked, but I know in the U.S. the Copyright Office will not, if you're trying to put AI art and trying to copyright it, they will block it, because you need to show that it's majority human effort. I don't know how they want you to show that, but there have been a couple cases that have been appealed, that have been going back and forth with the Copyright Office in reference to art that was made in collaboration with AI. One was a comic book, and then one was just a piece of art. And both were like appealed and have gone to, like, not to the Supreme Court, but to the highest level of the U.S. copyright, appeals process. And they both have come back like, no, because the AI has done this amount, like, no, like, we're not giving you a copyright for something that AI has created. There has to be enough human attribution, to it. And what is enough? I don't know, because I haven't looked that deep into those cases to see what they define as enough. But with musicians or with different platforms, I think it just depends on the platforms. I think we know ChatGPT is, open source. And then some of the other ones, I've heard of Midjourney. I know there's DALL-E. I haven't played with any of those. And so I don't know at some point if you end up paying like a monthly fee to continue. I don't know within their terms and conditions, like if it says you need to say, hey, we give some credit because I use this, maybe in the future they will change that. So I think it's just looking at those terms and conditions with those different softwares and what changes may happen in the future, and whether they would be owed a percentage or not. But I think they're just trying to get the software out there to kind of gain notoriety, and they aren't trying to kind of recoup, funds yet.
So I asked ChatGPT this same question just now. It gave me a really long response, but yeah, basically, like, it just kind of boils down to jurisdiction at this point. Like, you could be held liable depending on, the art that was used that the AI used itself to create the art. You could be held responsible for some royalties and stuff based off of copyright of that. But on the reverse side as well, if you create something with AI, it itself, depending on the jurisdiction, might not have any sort of copyright protection. So yeah, it just totally depends. So it's definitely good to continue to research this stuff.
Yeah, I think it's mad interesting. I appreciate everybody's input. Because even like specifically with music, like, I know it's not up there to writing lyrics, but like, if you write a lyric, you have a really heavy percentage of the song and the streaming income. And people who just write and sing and don't produce the beats, like myself, like, I rely heavily on my, writing percentage and publishing. Like, it breaks down to like, it's a little bit complicated. So, it's like, if I'm writing a song with someone, I get a beat. I don't know. I just think it's so interesting. Like, will those lyrics that ChatGPT that I sang, do I get that percentage? Like, it's just futuristic thoughts, but love you guys and appreciate it.
Well, I think Fairy deserves to get the last, or not Fairy, Frankie. See, I'm just disrespecting you constantly. Like, I don't understand why. It's not intentional, I promise, but
what
Frankie,
did I do? What?
No,
Can we clear this up? No. Let's just clear this up in front of everybody.
But I was going to say, if any, I think this is a great spaces, and for anybody that wants to go back and listen, hope we don't go for 3 hours, because we easily could, it seems. But let's give it to Frankie for some last words.
Okay, I'm gonna put you on the spot. I'm gonna put you on the press. This Sunday between 6 and 7 p.m. Eastern, we're gonna do a community space called the Queens and Cass. So you guys gotta come join. And it's gonna be lit this Sunday, community space. Sorry I put you on the spot, but that's what I gotta do.
A little payback for me messing with you. I am excited. Yeah, we need some good old Sunday vibes, and I'll be here hanging out with Frankie. But until then, you guys keep it easy. You know where to find us. Go make something. And yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. It's so nice to hear different perspectives because you're all from different industries and have different backgrounds. So it's really, really nice to hear that. I don't really want to leave, Cass, but okay, I think we need to go. All right, love you guys. Have a good rest of the day, whatever you're doing. I'm not sure how to put on the music, so is it playing? No, it's not.
What elevator music is this? Yo, I'm done. I'm out. Yeah.
You can leave whenever you're ready.
I was expecting milkshake.
Ooh, eggy waggy.